agenda. And I don't know if there was gonna maybe be a request for a late item or not, Director Cunningham?
Oh, yes, yes, I'd like to, a lead agenda item that be that the, board reconsider the Weimar landfill closure and with a view to perhaps maintaining the facility.
Okay, so we need a 2/3 vote. I don't know how far any conversation could go on that, but it is a request for a late item. And if it's at the end, maybe staff will be able to provide some comment or maybe not. So on making that late addition to the agenda, looking for a 2/3 vote, all in favor. So I gotta do a count both here and in, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the room. Online, I see 7, 8, 9. How many do we have in the meeting? We're missing directors. Emma.
Um, 18.
So that is not carried.
There's,
It's definitely not 2/3.
there,
Yeah.
no, jointly,
Yeah, okay, we need 2/3 and I'm just double checking this up. Do the vote again. This is request, it's 2/3 vote as a late agenda item to add a reconsideration of a previous motion, so we do it the hard way, go around. We just go to participants. So, I'll just go around the table, then go around the, Watson.
Opposed.
Opposed. Terry, compare. Hewitt,
Opposed.
Weatherhead,
In favor.
String, favor, and Vandenberg, favor,
opposed,
Vandenberg, opposed,
Opposed.
all in favor, favor. I would support it, in favor. So online, who knows that? And I have to use my Lockwood, so as I see people.
Opposed,
You're echoing quite a bit there. Gordon, Director Gordon,
opposed,
Aiden McLaren Cove. Director McLaren Cove,
Opposed.
Newland,
Opposed,
Director Buller,
in favor.
Hanegraaff, Director Hanegraaff,
opposed,
Director McFadden,
opposed,
Director Houghton.
opposed,
Okay, so it's defeated in absolute number of 2/3, so will not be on the agenda. You may want to put a director's motion forward some other time. So returning to the, Director Cunningham, go ahead.
can that then be a notice of motion for the next meeting?
So notice a motion at committee or versus board, and I wonder if it would be board.
Procedurally, just submit the motion request for the next agenda. It's the same thing as a notice of
Right.
motion.
Just submit it to the, who's the rotating chair for the next joint resources? It's,
Send it to
I'll
staff.
review it. Just to staff. So if you submit it to staff and to Director Popoff to be on the next agenda. Just submit it as a request for the next agenda.
Well, then will it go through the same thing that has to be a reconsideration?
No, the staff and board chair will compile the agenda, but all the joint chairs look at it, so it just probably will appear on the agenda. It won't be a late item and staff will be prepared to have the conversation about it.
Okay, thank you.
So on the, if there's no other additions or removals on the agenda as published, all in favor? Or sorry, move the adoption, seconded, moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? So that is carried, that was published. Receipt of minutes, the April 15th, it's not right. Saturday, May, June, yeah, we did skip to it. Okay, April 15th, they received and they went to board back in April as well. So we have staff reports. There's a little tiny one to lead off, landfill gas feasibility study results. This is quite the report, the recommendation to initiate design planning for Gudashenga in 2027. So I guess Heidi, if you can give us Not 5 minutes, I guess, if you can give us an overview of this report.
Thanks.
There's-
Thanks,
Go
and through the
ahead.
chair. As was discussed in a verbal update to the committee in February of this year, landfill gas management and monitoring, in compliance with the new federal landfill methane regulations, will be required at Udashinya landfill by January 1st, 2035. In anticipation of this, staff procured Sperling Hansen to complete a grant-funded feasibility study to identify viable landfill gas management options and recommendations for Udashinya landfill, as well as viable options that could be applied at Creston landfill to optimize current landfill gas management at this facility. Any works at Creston landfill are voluntary, as this landfill is not expected to be regulated to manage landfill gas. Due to uncertainty around future operations at this landfill beyond the existing filling phase, staff do not recommend any additional voluntary landfill gas management measures until the result of the operational certificate amendment application is determined. As such, the rest of the summary will focus on the study recommendations at Udashinya landfill. Sperling Hansen's evaluation used modeling and surface emissions monitoring data from Udashinya to assess which landfill gas technologies are viable at this site, and then ranked these based on cost, greenhouse gas reduction impact, and risk to determine a short list of technologies for detailed evaluation. The minimum approach to managing landfill gas in compliance with the regulations is the installation of landfill gas collection infrastructure that directs the gas to an active closed flare. All of the additional strategies considered are supplemental to this baseline approach and would be considered voluntary. These strategies are all summarized in Table 1. Table 2 provides the estimated costs and greenhouse gas reduction for each of the supplemental strategies relative to the baseline approach, as well as the calculated cost per ton of greenhouse gases reduced as a standardized metric that combines cost efficiency and environmental impact. Based on this data, the most effective strategy is early implementation of landfill gas collection and flaring, while the most cost-efficient strategy is to utilize landfill gas by converting it to compressed natural gas, or CNG. However, this is also one of the highest risk strategies. Landfill gas utilization technologies, such as upgrading to CNG, generally come with higher risks due to increased complexity and variability of influencing factors. More empirical landfill gas quantity and quality data, as well as a better understanding of local market for CNG, is needed to mitigate these risks. The best way to address this would be to implement the baseline approach of landfill gas collection and flaring prior to committing to landfill gas utilization, such that real-time data from the flare, monitoring of the flare, can be used to refine cost and revenue estimates for potential upgrading to CNG. Staff recommend issuing an RFP in 2027 to procure a qualified professional to complete a landfill gas facilities design plan for Udashinya landfill in 2028. The plan would include conceptual design of landfill gas collection and flaring infrastructure, and would include detailed analysis of both the 2030 and 2035 implementation timelines, such that the committee can make an informed decision on which strategy to pursue. The timeline for subsequent business case study for upgrading landfill gas to CNG would be dependent on the timeline chosen for the baseline approach. The landfill gas facilities design plan is expected to cost approximately $50,000. Allocation of these costs is outlined in Table 5. Thanks. Back to the chair.
Thank you. So we have some questions or comments and or recommendation. Director Schmidt? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just one thing as I was going through the report, I'm just curious about the methodology for using of the curve as we are currently below and it'll go higher. How does that curve being developed as far as predicting the future?
Heidi?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Are you speaking about Figure 1, just to clarify?
I don't have it in front of me, but
Is it, you won't be able to see it, she might have.
yes, that's right.
It's got a little peak on it.
Yeah.
It shows
Yeah.
early adaptation or whatever.
So how does that,
Yeah.
how's that planned? I mean, you could have a figure today, but how do you know the curve is rising, lowering, at what rate?
So
That is
Environment Canada's staff developed that modeling tool. So it's based on their modeling tool, which is the only modeling tool that's accepted for the new federal regulations.
Supplemental.
Yes, go ahead.
And that raises a concern for me because, is that based upon Toronto? Different temperatures, different things, that I'm just trying to understand where, how good are the figures that we're using, that's all.
So there's several industrial models out there that have been used over the past decades, some verified, most of them verified. Generally speaking, most models have a slightly higher result than what we see when we actually put systems in, but that is more associated with the ability to capture all the gas that's coming out of these sites. So, and I don't know, Heidi, if you have compared this model to other models, but and you can maybe comment afterwards on that. But these models are generally very scientifically reviewed. They have input of type of materials, quantity of materials, age of materials that all go into a calculation that is based and developed. The algorithm is developed based on known quantities from existing landfills in the past. So they have been field verified in a way, and that's how they came up with the algorithm to calculate gas quantities being developed. So it doesn't matter if a landfill is in Toronto or whatever, because what we specifically take into consideration with the calculation is age of waste, volume that goes in, and specific types of waste that will degrade faster or not as fast, or are even inert in the landfill. So all contributing factors go into that algorithm, and they are field verified when that model is being developed. Heidi, if you have any other additional comments.
Yeah, through the chair. There are a number of customizable fields in the model. So things that impact the decay rate, which is what results in landfill gas, such as moisture level, is customizable. And we used Castlegar data from the Castlegar weather station for that. We were able to enter our waste composition data. So it's not just like 29,000 tons of waste was landfilled this year. It was specifically accounts for the types of waste based on our waste composition study. So it has been customized to the data that we have available for our landfill. And then with regards to comparing to other models, I compared it to the provincial model, where the values in the Environment Canada one were slightly lower than what the provincial model is showing.
Thank you. Director Weatherhead.
Through the chair to Heidi, it looks like this is based on in the Custer Roseberry, all the transfer stations now also routing their garbage to Udashenia. It's fair to say that there's going to be an increase. Do you know what kind of a percentage that represents in terms of how much more we're adding to this landfill?
Through the chair, yeah, and that was included in the modeling. So we basically shifted all of the waste from the Nakusp landfill into the Udashenia landfill, and it was about, off the top of my head, I think it was about 2,000 tons per year increase. But don't quote me on that number.
Go ahead.
And maybe Heidi, you can comment on that. If I recall right, what was not modeled was the impact from materials not going into the landfill from the composting program. Is that correct?
Because our last waste composition study took place prior to the implementation of organics diversion, yeah, our waste composition estimates in the model don't account for that yet. We will have new data for that next year, and I can update it when we do the model next year. There is a page in the model where you can put diversion targets. And so in lieu of that waste composition data, I just ran the model, like a simulation of the model with that diversion accounted for through the diversion targets. And even with that, we were just above the regulatory threshold.
Further, Director Weatherhead?
No, thank you.
So I have Vandenberg and Papa. Director Vandenberg.
Great, thank you. Through the chair. So I'm looking at 4.1 in the report, financial considerations. So I guess I'm wondering, is there enough material to support a landfill gas collection program if we're considering an investment of $1.8 million over 4 years? That's $360,000 a year. What is our payback? That kind of investment. And I know, being familiar with the gas collection program at Lethbridge, I sense that Lethbridge is much larger. They're actually powering their buses with that program, but you need to have the feedstock. Before you start any analysis, there's others out there that you can compare to decide, is it worth the effort to spend any money on this until we know that there's a return?
So Heidi or Uli, Heidi, that's part of the next phase of the study, I guess, to analyze.
Yeah, so through the chair, we don't really get to choose whether we do this based on payback. We're regulated. We will have to manage landfill gas in 2035. I guess the optional part is whether we want to utilize that landfill gas. And the payback part of that is what requires additional study. And that's why we're recommending that we go forward with just the landfill gas collection and flaring first, so that we can get the empirical data we need to better understand the quantity and quality of gas that we have, and how that gas could be utilized, and the revenue that we could make from that. So yeah, that would be the next part of the study.
Further?
And thank you for pointing that out. It's mandated to us. So is part of that cost then distributed to the Crescent? Like, is Crescent going to be a flare site in any type of the near future?
Creston is flaring, was not mandated, but we chose to flare because we were capping incrementally to keep the water out. There was a leachate item and what's the proper term, Uli? I'm sorry, the unattenuated landfill. We capped to keep water out to maintain that status, because we capped. That's the only time to install the collecting system to flare.
So we are flaring in Crescent?
We're flaring Creston.
I've been there many times. I've not seen that.
So, yeah, if I may expand on that. The aggressive cap that we are using in Creston, meaning a denser cap as the requirement would normally be for a landfill of that size, uses a membrane. The membrane is more or less impermeable for gas, so we had to install, as part of the closure system, a gas collection system. By the time we do that, the added cost to install a flare there was comparatively small, and that triggered having a flare for close to a decade, I think now, on that site. So that's how it came to be, to have the smaller of our sites having a gas collection system and a flaring system in place.
Thanks for that.
Okay, so I have Popoff and then Davidoff and Lockwood. Go ahead, Director Popoff.
So, I'd like to move the recommendation for discussion purposes.
Go ahead. So that's the recommendation to initiate landfill gas facilities design planning, Virginia. 2027 to second, okay, and
And for discussion purposes, like I take a look, it's just a plan, so it's not gonna get adopted. We do the planning and then we'll make a decision afterwards. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So, and it's, the cost is based on the current Central West Subregion cost sharing policy. Do we expect any changes in that policy?
We as staff do not, since you as board are the decision makers, you tell us. No, we do not expect any changes on that. We have occasional small tweaks in how we calculate it when we find other aspects that we didn't consider before. But generally speaking, we think this is a stable and reasonable and good formula for cost sharing for that site.
Okay, thank you.
okay, so I have speakers Davidoff, Lockwood, and Watson. Please go ahead, Director Davidoff.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, through the chair, I support the motion. I think we need to investigate this. We've talked about this for many years. I have a question to staff about, like, this is an incredible amount of methane gas collecting. Does it pose a risk to staff if that were to ignite? Like, if you got huge pockets of methane gas in the landfill, and I understand the need to flare and purge and use it in some other way, but are we dealing with or what's the risk factor to staff right now? If this should somehow ignite?
Uli, go ahead.
So first of all, gas is only ignitable when it is in the right mix between the actual gas and oxygen, so meaning the atmosphere. In its pure form, it is not ignitable. We certainly have areas where you likely can go and landfill coaches, people that hold landfill instruction courses, love to do that. So you pound a pipe in the ground and then you put the lighter to the top of the pipe and get the little whoop effect. So yes, that is certainly there. There is no immediate risk unless you would be working in enclosed areas, in holes and similar situations. Otherwise, landfill gas is at every landfill and always present in different concentrations. This exercise actually started to help us monitoring where we have increased or decreased volumes of gas coming to surface. You have to some degree a conversion of your landfill gas coming through cover soils. You have some conversion to CO2 happening, but you don't have the immediate explosion risk unless you're really go chasing it. And we certainly have an obligation to look for lower-lying areas where that gas could accumulate. That would be a risk. Confined space comes to mind, right? But that is something we certainly have clearly on the horizon. And as it is specific to Tashania, we are fairly high up on the hill. So we have consistent air exchanges for most of the areas where that is not a concern.
Supplemental, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so do we have a strict no smoking policy and at our landfills?
Through the chair, we've worked with our Human Resources Department on this item, and it's something that's still currently being worked on. I think we'd have to provide an update at a later time. At the actual active phase, there is strictly no smoking. But at the area where the staff are working, we have designated areas that are outside of the active phase of the landfill.
I.e. scale house, right?
Sorry.
Behind a scale house or something like that. But at the active phase, it is definitely a non-smoking area.
Okay, yeah, just thinking of, like, I'm sorry for raising it, but safety is a huge issue, and this is not just a little tiny amount of gas. This is huge volumes of gas. So I think we should have a strict no smoking policy at our landfills. Full stop.
I'll put myself on the speakers list as a follow-up if a question related, but I have Lockwood, Watson, and Vandenberg for the second time. Go ahead, Director Lockwood.
Thank you. I apologize. Somehow I got on here twice, so I apologize for that noise earlier. I'm gonna go right to page 88, just so I have an understanding of how we've broken this out. This is about the Creston landfill. It says average deposit waste composition. How do we get these actual numbers to be able to say that this is what we're working with? Is one of my questions so far.
Who wants to, Heidi, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure what page 88 is, but all of the data that comes into this is essentially, it comes from our scale data as landfill waste goes into the landfill. When it comes to like the tonnage going into each landfill, and then the waste composition is based on the waste composition studies where we apply the results of the waste composition studies to our annual tonnage data.
Supplementary.
Yes,
Um,
further?
Yes, and to staff, to Heidi, where I'm looking at is the average deposited waste composition for the Creston landfill. It's page 88 of the package, so I'm not sure what page it is in your thing. And it just says like nappies, there's 3% nappies. Inert is what I think what an inert is. Maybe that can be explained. I'm just wondering, when this is a big report and when it's big like this, it's really hard to break it down for public, and something as simple as a pie shape sounds like it would be an easy way to do it, but I don't know how you actually get these percentages. So that's where I guess that we need a little bit more on that.
Yeah, just to clarify, so through the chair, that part of the study is related to our waste composition study. So that was already kind of presented and broken down in 2023 when we did the waste composition study. And this is just a reiteration of that data that was taken straight from the waste composition study and input into this model.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the pie chart. We haven't found where it is in the other individual reports yet. Go to Director Watson and myself, and second time Vandenberg. Go ahead, or Chair Watson.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in support of the motion. I'm just trying to clarify, and I'm sorry, Heidi, I was reading through the financial considerations because my question is just with the motion. It doesn't include the amount nor if it's in the financial plan. And so I just need to clarify that that motion doesn't not need a number and that it's in a financial plan, or that it's directed to a financial plan.
Through the chair, it's not currently in our financial plan, but because we're proposing it till 2027, if the motion were approved, we would add it to the next iteration of the financial plan.
So we see the budget figures for 2027 budget.
I'm just trying to clarify that we're directing you to do this in 2027. So, but the financial plan still is subject to approval at that time. So I think it's confusing to me why there isn't a number and direct it to the financial plan.
If I may,
Go ahead.
so ultimately, you as part of the budget discussion have the ability to reconsider that. But initially, you direct us to work in this direction, consider this in our capital plan and in our work plan when we present that as part of the budget process to you. As part of the budget process, you can reconsider. If you feel you have other priorities or for any reason do not want to progress with that, then we have at that point, at the discussion about our financial plan, the discussion again about that item. But we would be directed to initially incorporate it into the first draft of the financial plan that we bring to you.
And so then should that number of what you're including in the financial plan not be part of the motion? It's in the report at 50,000.
Is that not in the motion?
It's not.
No, it's just initiate design planning for
At
2027.
$50,000. That's what I was trying to determine. Because in the report, Heidi indicates that 50,000 is in the 2026 or parts in the 2026 financial plan. That's just where I got lost. Great, we're directing you to include it in the 2027 plan and you'll come back to us, but there's no number in there, so. Right now, it could be any number.
Heidi, could you clarify, do you have a budget earmarked in 2026 to start this if needed, or is it going to be in-house resources doing this work?
Through the chair, so we were not planning to do any further work on this in 2026. We were planning to initiate the RFP process in 2027 if this were approved to be added to the budget. I guess the values in table 5, if you wanted I guess my thought was that we didn't need a financial plan amendment because it wasn't going to affect 2026. But if we want to add it to 2027 right now, as opposed to when the 2027 budget is developed, then the values in table 5 would be the values to add to the motion.
Sorry, to clarify, we still debate the financial plan regardless of this process. So we're just saying, yeah, please include it. We'll debate it again. I'm only addressing that there's no number indicated as to what we're directing you to include. And that's, if it's table 5 and 50,000, we should just include that in the motion so we know what we're telling you to include.
Okay.
So are we amending the motion? Is that because that's not a current year expenditure? It's not a financial plan amendment. There's no financial plan amendment required.
No, but we're directing to include something in a future financial plan, and I'm saying you should include the number because you already have it. So it should be, you're including it at 50,000.
So you do an amendment along the lines of, with an estimated 50K expenditure. If that's suitable for now, it's subject to change.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Emma? Did you capture that?
Yeah, I can just add on at the end, like that, the estimated cost of 50,000. Do we need to include which service it'll be coming from?
We shared between 187 and 188, apportioned between S187 and S188. That apportionment is already established, as Director Bob pointed out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would just ask the neighbor if they want it as a friendly amendment.
Yeah, so I guess that is friendly amendment and seconders. Do we want to read that back just so we're crystal clear? Because somebody has to look at this in a couple hours and get it signed off before we go on.
Okay, so I have, the board direct staff to initiate landfill gas facilities design planning for the Ushtrenia landfill in 2027 with the estimated cost of $50,000. And for the cost be paid from services.
Well, it'd be a portion between
Apportioned.
be a portion between services S187 and
Portion.
between services S187 and 188. Plus 188.
Okay.
Because that apportionment formula is already in place. We do not have to put because it's just.
Yeah.
Okay, so given that's the amended motion, that's what we're discussing. It's friendly. We have a couple more speakers. I guess I'm next on this list, not seeing any other hands except second time. Just on what I would have called LEL readings, explosion limit readings in past life, 30 plus years ago, we used to do routine measurements because we had a lot of contaminated sites with gasoline and jet fuel and whatever else. Do we have LEL monitoring equipment? It's fairly straightforward, and we could just simply do an in situ test and say what the lower explosion limit is. Just as a piece of equipment you could use from time to time.
Heidi, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we used to rent the equipment for resource recovery. If we had specific purposes, we have similar equipment on the utility side for propane.
So there's something available if necessary. Yes, Heidi?
Through the chair, our environmental consultants rent the equipment when they do their monitoring at the site, but our staff don't typically rent it. But the landfill operators with GFL should always be wearing a 4-gas monitor while they're operating at the site.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, thanks. Just follow up with Director Davidovs, because technology that might have cost $10,000 30 years ago might be $1,000. So Director Van Berg for the second time, not seeing any other speakers.
No, thank you. Just a couple of points of clarity. This has happened, it happens a number of times. When we download a report, it is a continuous number of pages. When we use eScribe, we use separate individuals. Hard to follow along. It requires us to have both eScribe and the downloaded report to be able to follow along with their conversations. We should almost decide one over another. The other thing that kind of gets me in terms of safety protocol, we don't have the ability to say you should make this site no smoking. That is where a safety assessment is done. That's done by staff. And I would like to point that out, and hazard assessments are extremely necessary. but we don't have the ability to make those calls. My question is around, in terms of methane capture, that sort of thing, can trees be planted at some point in time, enclosure or whatever, to be able to rehabilitate or control the off-gassing in an area?
If I may,
Go ahead.
trees are actually generally not part of site remediation.
Vegetation trees.
Yeah, there is typically grasses, but the real effective piece is organic material above the actual waste volume if you have permeable landfill closure. So if you have only a soil type of closure scenario, you can have vegetation above, but particularly the organic layer, topsoil layer that you have can act to some degree as has the biology that can act to some degree as a conversion from methane to CO2. You can go specific with that, and I think it is addressed in the report where you actually intentionally have typically as an interim solution, an interim layer of organics that does exactly that to an incomplete process, but a helpful process to help reduce methane emissions through the organic layer that you have on top. Further, and that's often used in small remote sites, when you close a site, you can have actual conversion windows, as we call it, meaning they cut a layer, a square or whatever out of the cover layer, have specific organic materials with an ideal moisture content in there, that then that forms the preferential gas pathway coming through these windows and contribute to conversion of methane to CO2 and reduce any kind of gas pressures that you might have under your liner system. So this may potentially be a consideration in our closure of the Anacostia site, but that is technology that is often used on small remote sites.
So, not seeing any others, I did have a separate question, not going back to the LEL measurement set. And I sympathize, I opened both, I described open, and I have the 149 page full on agenda. On page 52 and 53 of the full agenda, there's discussion around biocover, and you just referred to it. Creston Valley Forest Corporation, Community Forest and Wild Site are doing a biochar project with wood waste. Just wondering if staff are generally apprised of what they're trying to do. Is that partially oxidized product something that would be more or less effective using it in that layer, that alternative cover?
Potentially. So where we have been looking at biochar, probably the first time actively was with the plant facility in Fruitvale that is supposed to wood-based conversion for energy purposes, and waste product would actually be biochar, a marketable product. But they came to us as well and said, do you want some? And augment your compost materials with the biochar. I understand, I actually was going to follow up. Todd is not here today, right? Maybe you know, if we had some communication with the group in the Creston area there, a youth core that does that. Maybe you can speak for them.
Bruna Chair, so we've been in touch with this group. We have, I think, 9 super shelves of biochar that's finished. They're gonna be using about half of it or a bit more in the Creston Community Forest project. And they have offered to give us access to the remaining material. And we were planning to add some as an amendment to some finished compost. It's especially good for water retention. It's also good in the composting project or process for sites that have odor issues, which we don't have at Creston. But we have been exploring it with, Transform composting systems, our compost expert, over the years. Just as if there ever is a large biochar facility in the area, would be a beneficial end use for it, and it sounds like it is.
Excellent, good to hear. So I don't see anyone else in the room, nobody else on that. We have an amended recommendation. So seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
I'm sorry, but what is the amended recommendation now?
We had it right back, but you wanna read it again, Emma, please? Thank you.
That the board directs staff to initiate landfill gas facility design planning for the Ushania landfill in 2027 at the estimated cost of $50,000. And further that the costs be apportioned between Service 187 refuse disposal Central Subregion and S188 refuse disposal West Subregion.
Okay, thank you. So on that recommendation, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried, goes to committee tomorrow. Okay, second item. 3.2 for information, Reston landfill hours of operation reduction update. Nathan, you're here, thanks. Yeah, we had a look at this 3 different ways and have a small change recommended, I guess. Please give us the overview.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. Through the chair. In September 2025, the board of directors approved a reduction of hours at the Creston landfill by 1 hour per day, with the goal of reducing operating costs by approximately $29,000 per year. Following engagement with commercial haulers about the reduction of hours, it was apparent that there could be a delay of service for Tippett curbside customers if the hours reduction was implemented. As the RDCK would like to reduce operating costs while also ensuring an adequate level of service is provided to commercial haulers and their residential customers, the following solution is planned to be implemented effective August 1st, 2026. Reduce hours of operation at the landfill to 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. Allow Tippett to access the landfill from 3 o'clock till 3:30 p.m. and self-weigh their loads. And instruct GFL to staff the landfill until 4 p.m. each day or until their daily responsibilities are completed. GFL will also provide Tippett with after-hours entry into the site. GFL Area Supervisor Stan Sukaroff has been informed of this and is on board with the changes. A media release and other communications have been prepared and will be sent out following this meeting. This concludes my summary. Send back to the chair.
Thanks, Nathan. And so this is an operation, just how you're gonna operationalize direction further, that we gave you previously, rather further to the previous direction. And no decisions required, just information. And no anticipated cost increase from the contractor, but will be some marginal savings on staff. So any questions for Nathan? Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we go to 3.3 financial plan amendment, Eco Depot establishment. I won't say woo-hoo, but maybe I will. Candy, please give us an overview of where we're at. You're making progress.
Yes. Thank you, Sir the Chair. Today I'd like to present regarding the financial amendment request in S186 East Refuse Disposal and S188 West Refuse Disposal for Eco Depot establishment. As we are all aware, the RDCK has been experiencing significant lack of service from multiple EDR programs, and currently we only have 1 year-round Eco Depot in Nelson. Although hazardous waste collection event has been very successful and well attended, hosting those events annually can be very expensive, inefficient, and also inconvenient for our residents. As a model with the Nelson Leafs Eco Depot has been quite successful, the RDCK wished to establish similar business model with local businesses in Creston, Nepal, and Casigar. And the RDCK issued several expressions of interest and requests for proposals for this project over the years. However, unfortunately, none of the proposals were suitable for the RDCK, or there was no interest for this project in the past years. Therefore, in December 2025, staff issued another expression of interest, and this time we received 6 responses from the interested parties. So this indicated that there should be some potential proponents if we proceed with the procurement process again. And in the meantime, staff conducted a cost estimate assessment to better understand the cost required to establish equity depots if we do this in-house. So this estimate cost can be included in RFP as a price cap to compare the prices that potential proponents will present in their responses. So it will be quite useful for staff and potential proponents as it will eliminate proponents whose estimated contract value will exceed our price cap. And also they'll reduce the time for proponents to consider and prepare for the RFP response, and will also make the evaluation process much easier and faster for us. And additionally, this cost estimate might provide opportunity for us to consider establishing and operating equity pool in-house at Creston Landfill and the Cass Transfer Station and Eugenia Landfill if all proposed prices from the potential proponents exceed our price cap significantly. As the report shows, the cost for the establishment of eco depots will be approximately $191,000 per eco depot. This includes all the essential components listed in the report, except operational expenses. And this cost also includes 40% contingency price. So 40 to 50% contingency price for this type of estimate is quite standard. And this price are expected to decrease as the design progresses. So currently under the 2026 financial plan, only $35,000 was allocated towards capital expenditures in S186 and S188 per equity depot. As a result from the cost estimate largely exceeded these allocated budgets, staff request to increase to transfer from reserve by $156,000 for S186 East Refuse Disposal, and also to increase $312,000 for S188 Waste Refuse Disposal. And staff also request to increase either capital expenditures or grants account, subject to either in-house or external service delivery for the eco depot establishment. And please note that the current reserve balance in both budgets have sufficient balance as reported, and also current allocated budgets are sufficient to cover the estimated operational expenses as well. Thank you very much, and thanks for your consideration.
Thanks, Patty. Maybe before going to the committee as a whole, I was trying to think of whether we've ever done a, financial plan amendment with an either or. It didn't strike me right. And so my thoughts are the need to increase the budget was to make sure that we are going out for RFPs in good faith and that we have the amount covered if in fact we come within our targets. So it seemed more logical to me, instead of having a recommendation of an either or, either increase contracted services or capital expenditures, that this amendment should simply increase contracted services, period. If we find in either of these recommendations, we're outside our funding envelope beyond the cap, as you put it, then the financial plan amendment would be now to move that money from contracted services to capital and whatever else is required to do the in-house. But I don't think, and Yev isn't with us, I don't think we can do a financial plan amendment that doesn't specifically tell finance where to put the money.
So I do not know, don't have the answer for that, but if this is the case, we can strike the later part of the resolution, because then we would specifically need it in the contracted services in order to be able to tender these services and have that monies available and showing in our financial plan that we commit to as part of our tendering process.
So I think that's what's appropriate, that we move the money to contracted services now. And if you decide that that's not a viable path, then we will move the money to other line items which allow us to contract, get the equipment and use our own in-house resources. But don't think we can have neither or. So what I was, and I should have put this in chat, I was thinking of putting an email yesterday, it did not. But really it should be transferred from reserves by up to 156, it should just be by 156,000. And simply to increase the contracted services by 156,000. That's all you need.
Correct.
Increase the account transfers from reserves by 156,000 and increase the account contracted services amount by 156,000, period. If that sounds like it covers the rest of the
Question to the chair for that.
Yeah.
So my understanding is the capital expenditures were only required to be spent at the beginning of the project. And the contracted service is the one that includes holding expenses, disposal expenses and staffing. So if we include everything into contracted service, would it make sense? Or because we do need money to start up this establishment of the depot structures and all these things. To start with is expenditures, but then contracted service, in my understanding, is those holdings and all these services that's actually ongoing for the rest of the contract.
So either we split the money if we know if there's a split, but if it's a contract at arm's length, it wouldn't be funding construction, would we start it?
This would be considered through the chair, the funding to a third party to provide the services. And capital projects would be their capital project would be worked into a contractual arrangement that we would pay the third party then as a contracted service. So it can sit for now in the contracted services, and then we have to determine if or what operational cost would in addition required in future years.
So the natural holding spot for the money in good faith is contracted services.
For the time being.
May need further amendments. So I did see, both Jesse and Kelly have questions. So I haven't tried to put this forward as a recommendation. But
You want me to move it?
well,
Or you want to talk?
I should have done this by email. I should have done it yesterday because I knew I was chairing this meeting. So apologies for that. No, go ahead, Director Woodward. I don't think we can move the recommendation as is. It's gonna have to be amended. This is not a firm direction of finance. Just your thoughts on how we
Yeah.
proceed, Director?